Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Delivering Dunamis podcast, where we are inspiring transformation through the strength and the power of the Almighty. My name is Matthew Deibler, and I'm your host. The message for today, we're going to call it Get to the Root. Get to the root. Over the last several weeks, I've had the opportunity to be in conversation with a number of folks who have had the opportunity to read my first book. That's The Devil and the Children of God at the End of the World. The book has been doing very well. In the first week, it hit bestseller status on Amazon. And the feedback has all been quite positive. I'm extraordinarily thankful for that. The love and support, it's truly touching. One of the things that many people have shared, at least those who are close to me and, can access me via email or phone or direct message on social media. They've told me how impactful the story has been. And then they've gone on to say, I'm just so sorry you had to go through all of that. And it comes from a very sincere place. I mean, they're truly empathizing with the pain that I felt in those dark seasons that I lived through. And I appreciate that. I really do. It's a big reason that I felt motivated to write this book. First and foremost, it was a call from God that I could not deny. I had to tell the story. I needed to get it out there. I had experimented with writing for many years, but I had never shared the story at this level of depth. And I was coming out of a season of great deception where I encountered the devil for the second time in my life. And I needed to share what I learned through that experience to arm the children of God so that they could navigate the deception and resist in the strength of the Lord if, in fact, Satan ever came knocking at their door. As it relates to the pain inside of my testimony, I don't often think about it much as pain. Perhaps at one time I did. But I almost have to go back to that season of darkness prior to my rebirth to really view it in that type of manner. Because following the rebirth, the pain all became purpose. And when that pain turned into purpose, there was great victory. Doesn't mean that overnight, the effects of the stress and anxiety that I had put on my body for years and years and years went away. Not at all. And many of those effects still plague me to this day. Physically, I may never be exactly the same as I was prior to that very devastating season in my life. But I don't get consumed by that pain. I actually celebrate the pain because I know that it gives my life great purpose. And I'm very thankful that I have a story to share, that there was adversity, because that adversity really highlights the radical transformation that I went through in faith. It allows me to have a testimony that is extraordinarily powerful, because you can see the strength of God in it all. You can see the miraculous healing, can see the dunamis. And I think that that's what all believers yearn for. Because on some level, we're all navigating adversity. And when we hear about another's ability to overcome through faith and faith alone, it really ignites our spiritual life. It gives us the strength to believe on a whole nother level. And again, that's really what I'm so grateful for. Was the pain real? Of course. There was great difficulty in my life. I was responsible for the vast majority of it. I'll be honest. And that was something that was very clear when God intervened. I needed to own responsibility for my life, for my story. It doesn't mean that at times I, perhaps was wrong. I mean, it doesn't mean that that wasn't the case. There were times where, yeah, I had my heart broken, or I went through some difficulty that was out of my control. Sure, we've all got that. But I was also, in all cases, really a willing participant in those events. The one place where I was really unwilling was in my spiritual life. And that was just ignorance. It was a lack of relationship with God. I didn't know what kind of deception I was under. I was being bullied, but I couldn't see beyond my flesh. I didn't recognize the war being waged against me in the spiritual realm. That was a great factor in my pain, but in my ignorance, I enabled it, because I was definitely led by temptation. I was reckless. And I was very impulsive under Satan's torment. And I really went wherever he led. Unknowingly, of course, but still, I enabled it. I was essentially submissive to it. So why are we going here? I really wanted to talk to you about something that I think is very important for anyone who's going through a healing process, for anyone who's seeking a radical transformation. People often questioned, why wouldn't I take something for the anxiety? Go see a psychiatrist and get a prescription for Xanax or something to help you find at least a little bit of relief in those moments when things get overwhelming. Why wouldn't you go spend more time speaking with a therapist? Why wouldn't you get treatment? Well, I'm not here to say that my route is the proper route for everyone. Let me be very clear about that. I'm not in a position to tell you, don't take the medication, don't go to a therapist. And I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that those things do not have any value. I'm just going to tell you a bit about the route I took because you need to understand why I decided to go down the path that I did. Because it really does impact my testimony. So when I began to establish my relationship with God, my faith grew to a level where I believed that there were no coincidences. Everything that I experienced was there for a reason. It was there to help me grow. It was there to teach me. Even the painful events were purposeful. I think I really connected with this idea because I wanted to see the bigger picture, my life, and the pain that I experienced as one that had value. And so that's really how I started living my life. If pain came up, okay, it was there for a reason. So what can I get from it? How can I gain more clarity about myself? And then how can I use that clarity to impact the lives of others as a servant for God's kingdom? I wanted to understand the purpose in my pain. I wanted to see what God was trying to reveal to me. I wanted to know the areas that needed work. And I felt as though if I attempted to, put a Band-Aid on something, that I would never, really be able to understand fully how to heal. If I was to deaden the blow of the anxiety, then I would never fully understand why it was there. What was triggering it? What was it about my behavior, my surroundings, an environment? What was it about what I lacked spiritually? What was it about really everything in my routine? I wanted to understand because I wasn't looking for a quick fix. I wanted a lasting solution. And because I was in complete trust of God. I really knew that He wasn't going to give me something that would not at some point bear fruit in my life. So I really allowed Him to sharpen and mold me. And that's why I became so aware, became very familiar with who I was and what made me tick. And then I got to understand this new identity in Christ. And even though the battle continued for a while, I had a different vision for the outcome. I started to tackle life as a victor and not a victim. And with that mindset, I really just went after every aspect of the battle I faced with great confidence. I did it often through writing. Now, I loved to tackle the most vulnerable elements of my being. I liked to go to those very sensitive topics because when I'd start writing about them and I'd start kind of revealing the depth of the pain that I had lived through, I didn't necessarily know where the writing was leading. I had no real vision for the outcome of the blog, but I would get, about halfway through or three-quarters of the way through telling the story, and then I'd start to feel the clarity wash over me. It was like God was healing me just through the share. So I got real excited. By the end of it, I felt like I had a strong conclusion that would impact the readers, and it would impact me because I would leave with a far better idea of how to keep moving my journey forward as a result of the writing. So there was always, every single time, there was purpose in the pain. And I just kept revealing that. The more that I wrote, the more that I revealed the purpose. And it was sort of like peeling back the layers of an onion. I just went one at a time, just deeper and deeper. I was really on a mission to get to the root of all of this turmoil, all of the suffering that I was going through. Because I knew that if I didn't get to the root, it would just keep resurfacing. I'd be stuck in a cycle. And I wasn't looking for something temporary. I wanted a permanent fix. And I believed wholeheartedly that faith and faith alone could deliver that into my life. I had this mindset that it was either going to be faith or fear. Faith is essentially the antithesis of fear. So if I could flood my life with more faith, then I could essentially drive all of the fear out. And that's really what I work to do. people often can't wrap their heads around how I could, go through everything that I experienced and never take one pill to ease my anxiety, to stabilize my mind, to give myself focus, to allow myself to rest, whatever it may be. People cannot seem to understand how I could do that, why I would do that. It's because I really, really wanted to get to the root of it all. That doesn't mean that it was the easiest path to healing, but it was the most fulfilling and certainly the most effective for the long term. God just revealed so much to me through the pain. And it allowed me to develop a closeness with him because we were in it together. Nobody else could understand what I was going through. I really couldn't expect them to. But God knew. He knew every ounce of it. And he never left my side. And that gave me great courage. You see, I took a lot of strength and comfort from my born again moment. When I fell at his feet and I asked him to either take my life or take me and do with my life according to your will, well, he didn't take my life. He didn't. So that meant he wanted to keep me here. He had a desire for me, for my future. He had a plan that he wanted to see come to pass. And he gave me an affirmation and I began healing. But, just in that understanding that he valued my life enough to restore me, to give me the tools to get well. Well, I knew from that moment forward, we were together. I knew that I was here for a reason. And so I just went all in with him and decided that, hey, wherever this goes, I'm just going to follow. If there's joy, then he intends it. If there's hardship, then he intends it, and not to hurt me, but to make me stronger, to reveal something to me. And over time, that's what he did. He revealed it all. And I came to know that my mental health battle was a lot bigger than mental health. It was spiritual in nature. That imbalance was what was triggering the vast majority of everything painful that I had experienced in my past. And once I was able to recognize that and address that imbalance and take my battle to a higher ground with the Lord, to resist the devil and his web of lies and deception in God's strength, then everything began to change. And there'd be a lot of people who would say, it's not that simple. You can't just heal yourself through faith. You have a right to your opinion. I will respectfully disagree. And I'll gladly share my testimony so that you can understand why I would feel the way that I do. I've lived it. Now it's not like a magic wand where, God just waves that wand and everything is gone. It's a journey, and it's not free from adversity. It's not free from temptation. It's not free from the poking and prodding of evil influences that do not just immediately relent. Those things exist. But when you stay near to God through all of it, you learn from it. You're able to discern where the threats lie, where the pitfalls exist. And you start better being able to identify the root cause of the challenges that you face. And when you understand them, you have the ability to set your path to heal in a way that can change your life forever. I'm honestly just extremely grateful for my experience. Did it take a little longer than perhaps it should have? Well, I don't know. It's all God's timing, right? I could have decided to, heal a little bit faster if I wasn't led into temptation, even after my rebirth. I had a season where I was led astray. That's when I encountered the devil the first time. And then I went kind of back into the wilderness for a period of my life and tried to sort things out and had to grow in faith and disarm some bad influences that remained. God's love was patient and enduring throughout. And ultimately, he started giving me signals through a vision, a prophetic word, a number of things that led me to believe that he was still taking a sincere interest in my future. And then, I began recharging that faith. And I had a moment when seeking that became a definitive, game changer for me. And that was when I had to encounter the devil the second time and really put all that I had learned over a period of a decade to the test. I needed to resist in the strength of the Lord. And that's what I did. And ultimately, it led to a pretty amazing series of events, a book, a podcast, Lamp on the Stand motivational ministry, a number of different things. And who knows where he guides me from here. I had to take out the root in order to reveal the broad reach of my mission, in order to fully embrace the call, in order to be restored to a point that I was truly aligned with his will, to a point where the Holy Spirit became the only voice that I felt moved to follow. I don't have any regrets. None. And you could look at my story and you could say, well, it's kind of silly, right? Like, I mean, gosh, all the hardship, all of the wrong turns, all of the sin, all of the loss, the torment, no regrets. No, I don't. Because every ounce of my story has value in where I am today. Every ounce of my story gives me an element of hope that I can share in the lives of others, because I am no longer trapped in that captivity. So I can take every bit of that pain and show my listeners, my readers, the victory through Christ. It's what makes me who I am. It's what makes me unique. It's my differentiator. My story is my differentiator. It's what gives me a significant role for God's kingdom. So I would never look at it and have any regrets. There's great purpose in my pain, and there's great purpose in your pain too, if you choose to see it and to claim the victory over it through Christ. Get to the root. Take out the real enemy. Otherwise, you're just beating at the air, and you're essentially giving the power to the enemy, and you're allowing the cycles to just continue to repeat. You may feel temporary relief, but if you don't get to the root, it's going to come back around. At some point, it's going to resurface. And then you may turn to some outlets that'll give you temporary relief again. And you'll feel as though you've moved past it. And eventually, if you haven't addressed the root issue, it's going to come back around again and again and again. And you don't need to live your life that way. There is freedom in faith. God is the ultimate healer. Again, I'm not here to say that there is no value in therapy or in medicine. I will never say that, but I will not deny the fact that God has supernatural healing power. And that power can do things that no traditional medicine can offer. So if you're looking for a long-term solution, if you're willing to go through the journey with him, trusting that everything has meaning and value, and that he always has your best interest in mind. If you have the stamina to take that on, then your testimony someday may sound a bit like mine. And if you live your life in that manner and you find that type of healing, you'll know exactly why I dedicate my life to glorifying God, because there is nothing like it. The gratitude that I feel for my experiences, for my healing, for the mission that I now serve. Oh, it just fills my heart. I appreciate the kind comments in response to my testimony. I appreciate your concern for my pain. But I do want you to know that in my eyes, every single ounce of it was worth it, because it allowed me to know my victor, to get to the root of all of the hardship, to take out the enemy, and to create a future where I had the clarity to understand how best to stay on a path that creates abundance and blessings, a path that gives me the opportunity to serve God's children and to glorify his name. I pray that you'll have the courage when someone tells you that it's not that simple, to tell them, sure it is. My faith has confirmed it. And I believe, even when I can't see, that he will light the way, and I will overcome this darkness through his strength. I will get to the root, and victory will be sealed. I love you all. God bless.